Here's to the good old days. Yep, back when toilet paper was so cheap, you could throw it at the houses of your enemies. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Akorn, and today is Friday, which means it's time for the next episode of Gen X and Millennial Memes, where we finally remember all the things we didn't even know we forgot about. While you're watching today's episode, please consider helping support the channel by hitting that like button and share these videos with your family, friends, and social media. I think we got a pretty good show today with a lot of good memes and even one or two news articles. So let's get into it. The older I get, the more I'm starting to relate to Oscar the Grouch. Yeah, that's probably true. When your cookie cutter lies, but your oven knows the truth. Only Gen X will get this joke. A Real American Hero, G.I. Joe's First Wave, 1982. I miss flipping through albums at the record store and picking out a new album so I could run home and play it on a record player. Good times. When this movie was released in 1981, it was the most accurate depiction of the life of cavemen and women ever created. Who else had a clock radio like this where the numbers rolled to the next minute? My dad had a radio that was very similar to this. His sister had bought it for him. I think it might have been a little smaller than this, but it did have the radio and everything built in. He had it for a lot of years. Eventually, he gave it to me when I was a kid. Unfortunately, the clock eventually stopped working. And me, being me, I tore it apart just to see how it worked. If your mama, auntie, grandma, etc. ever smoked cigarettes back in the day, she had one of these. Tell me I'm lying. Nope, you're not lying. That's 100% fact. My mom nor grandma smoked, but I did have at least one aunt, maybe two, that did. And all of us have seen other women who smoke who always had one of these. Burger King commercial in December of 1982. Front row, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Leah Thompson, and Elizabeth Shue. The Kmart electric carving knife your family pulled out once or twice a year back in the day. Not satisfied by the Paul Tyson fight? May I recommend watching the Piper David battle, circa 1988. And speaking of the Paul Tyson fight, here's some news I came across just a few minutes ago. Mike Tyson reportedly offered $700 million for Jake Paul rematch with one huge catch. I read this article, and basically, there's a government executive from Saudi Arabia who's offering Mike Tyson $700 million to have this rematch. However, the catch is it has to be a real fight, and Tyson has to knock Paul out within the first 3 minutes. For as long as it took to have the first fight, if you want to call it that, I seriously doubt that this one will happen at all. But if it did, if it was a real fight, yeah, I'd like to watch it. When you try and party like you're still in your 20s. Time to break out the good old dishes for those holiday dinners. My mom used to have an entire set of Corelle that had the exact pattern as these two dishes in the back there. Growing up with siblings be like... What's all the banging around upstairs? Me. Kids rode countless miles in the back of trucks with camper shells. What kid wore a tie while casting metal toys? That is a good question. And what kind of metal is this? Lead? Tin, maybe? How many of you guys had one of these? Not to flex or anything, but I used to be a line leader in elementary school. I'd completely forgot about any of that until I read this. Back in my day, we partied all night long and showed up to work in the same clothes, maybe with a wristband. He is a Canadian-American actor primarily known for his energetic slapstick performances. After spending the 1980s honing his comedy act and playing supporting roles in films, he gained recognition when he was cast in an American sketch comedy. Who is this child? When I first saw this for a second, I thought maybe it was Chris Farley when he was really young. But that's not him. I'll give you guys one hint. His smile completely gives away who he is. You can't hear images. Me. A 50-year-old can remember stories told to them by their great-grandparents about their great-grandparents telling stories about their great-grandparents. That means 50-year-olds have access to memories of stories going as far back as their great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. When you realize Home Alone came out 34 years ago, which is the same as watching a movie from 1956 in 1990. That's actually pretty bad. This will always be my Superman and Wonder Woman. I've spent 30 years thinking about how Molly Ringwald's sushi lunch in the Breakfast Club was sitting in a warm library for 4 hours. Yeah, that sounds about as good as sushi from a gas station. Bringing you back to the 80s. If you know, drop your answers down in the comments. Yellow Wendy's. Oh, how we miss you. As far as the fast food restaurants that are in the town where I buy my groceries and stuff at, I'd still prefer Wendy's over McDonald's and Burger King. However, if I had my choice, I'd far prefer Culver's over any other fast food. Someone needs to take away Grandma's yarn. Yeah, they kinda do. Because you know the only time that they were ever worn was to take this one photo. The Generation X color palette. So you're over 40 and can't live without social media. Tell me how much time you spent online in the 90s. I can completely live without social media. With that said, I'd say most of us still spend too much time in front of a screen. Do they have that Nintendo light dispenser close enough to the TV? Also, I've never seen the Nintendo robot that they have there. Bacal police crack down on citywide TPing spree. This goes back to the very first meme of the episode. This was a news article I found from September of 2019, which was before the great toilet paper runs of 2020. If you know whose living room this is, you're old. And yes, I'm old. The strainer that every family owned back in the day. '80s movies. How many have you seen? Well, from this list here, as far as I can remember for sure, I've only seen 17. But there were several others that I might have seen, but I can't remember for sure. 1980s Kid Trauma Starter Pack. Just wondering how all of you milk. It does the body good. Kids are doing now that middle-aged lactose intolerance has kicked in. That's one problem I don't have. But if you do, you might want to try raw milk.
Disclaimer. This is not medical advice or advice of any kind. Do not follow anything that is said in this video. Anything that you do is your own responsibility.
Yeah, back in a day when bag phones was the latest and greatest technology. Now this was a game show. I can't remember the name of this, but I think it was on TV in the early 90s, wasn't it? All you millennials will know. I found an actual picture of me going to and from school each day. Yep, there it is. Photographic proof. After retiring from G.I. Joe, Spirit moved to a small Texas town under his real name, John Redcorn. Yep, little known fact. If you know, you know. Come on, guys. Don't tell me that today's generation don't even know what a cheese slicer is. I've got one that is identical to this right now. Although I do need to replace the wire because the one that's on it broke. In 1984, ice cream truck driver Michael Larson set a record by winning $110,237 in just one appearance on the game show Press Your Luck. He'd noticed the luck board was using 5 predictable patterns, so he spent 6 weeks memorizing them and beat the system. What's even more shocking is that he's only 35 years old in this picture. I think I look younger than this guy. Not that that's saying much. If you understand, you had an awesome childhood. And yes, before all you grammar Karens start going on in the comments, the word awesome is misspelled. I didn't make this meme. And no, I'm not going to correct it. my favorite back in the day. Actually, I drank it and everything, usually if I was over at someone else's house. However, I was never really that impressed with it. To me, it was just sort of okay. What did you guys think about it? Did you like it, hate it, or just kind of neutral? Did we totally wipe out the ring around the collar in the 80s? I never hear about it anymore. I was reading the comments the other day and seen where someone wrote asking what happened with the ring around the collar. And my guess is we must have defeated it, because I haven't heard about it in years. Or the more likely answer, most of us just stopped wearing white dress shirts every day. I have come to the conclusion that I have a memory like an Etch-a-Sketch. I shake my head and forget everything. Well, it's not that bad, but I sure as heck hope that I never get any worse. Grand opening of Toys R Us at the Huntington Mall in Barboursville, West Virginia. Things I thought I would have as an adult: a thriving career, an amazing social life, an impressive retirement account. Things I actually have as an adult: a plastic bag filled with plastic bags, a favorite spatula, crippling anxiety. If you know what this is, your childhood was awesome. You're not old school if you've never had a TV dinner in a foil tray. Yep, it's very true. Frosty the Snowman will air on NBC at 8:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 5th. Sorry guys, by the time you see this video, it's already a day late, but maybe they'll have reruns. She shouldn't date him. He looks kinda sketchy. I'm so old, I grew up in an era where you had to go to Channel 3 to play video games. I can't remember for sure, but at some point in time, wasn't Channel 4 involved? Like on certain TV sets or something, you had to change it to Channel 4 instead of 3? I can't remember for sure, but it sure seems like it was. I can't believe I drank this and was okay with it when I was young. Another childhood pleasure that has zero explanation. Will the real Uncle Jesse please stand up? When you overhear teenagers refer to 80s music as classics and golden oldies. Heck, nowadays, even the 90s is being referred to as classic rock. Me trying to be a ray of sunshine. It looked more like an eclipse. If you know, drop it down in the comments. A lot of kids have no clue what this is or what it's used for. The only thing that it was used for was for 35mm film. That was its only purpose. Never was used for anything else. Same shot, 40 years apart. I had to look it up to see what his name was, because I don't keep up with the names of most actors and stuff. But anyway, the guy there on the left, John Ashton, He passed away just a few months after this movie was released. The greatest guitar players of all time. Yeah, especially the bottom right. When I was growing up, we didn't have babysitters. God watched us. Dad, did you have a Minions movie when you were a kid? Our Minions. At this point, if the Goblin King invited me to the labyrinth, I would just go. I'm still convinced that I cannot do this. Remember when you could call someone 20 times and hang up and they never knew it was you? Yeah, until someone got mad and called the operator and asked them for the number that just called them. And I'll end the episode with this. When spending time with your parents seems like too much effort, remember one day, all you will have is the memories. Yeah, most of us know that all too well. I sincerely appreciate every one of you who submits content to be considered here on the channel. If you would like to submit memes, links, news, or anything else, you can send it to akornzstash@gmail.com. This link can also be found down below in the video description. Please consider hitting that like button, and if you haven't already, smash subscribe and click that bell so you'll be the first to know about all new shows. To continue to support the channel, please click on one of the videos shown above. I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe. This is Akorn, over and out.